Hey guys, Target here and welcome to another episode of Design and Manage a City Skylines and Modded Let's Play series. In this episode we are going to work on the area that is surrounding the university. We are going to boost the population of the city, and we are also going to build a very important and very special facility, which is the official city zoo. So in this episode we are going to start and build the foundations of the zoo, define its geographical location and footprint, and later on future episodes, as we upgrade it to future levels, we can finish it up and detail it to the maximum. I started off by preparing the road layout of this area because it's not optimized for traffic. I didn't worry about that when I first built it. It was just a quick draft. I have adjusted the zoning blocks in a way that would look good and aesthetically pleasing, and I've also figured out the highway access by providing several connections to the on and off ramps, and by predicting how traffic would flow in this location. I'm still not sure if this is optimal for high density zoning, but if we need to optimize it in the future, we can do so without any problem. I've also added some overpasses between blocks so that we could give our citizens a way to travel from one zoning block to the other without going through the main avenues, which are the arteries of this area, and should be devoid of traffic as much as possible, so as few intersections as possible to maximize the traffic flow. So nothing really that you haven't seen me do already. The zoo will be placed inside one of these blocks. At the time of the recording of this gameplay, I still wasn't sure where I was going to place the zoo, but I simply knew that I wanted to place it next to the university and in a central enough location to provide leisure to the majority of the houses that will be zoned at the surrounding area. But yeah guys, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much what I've done in this short time lapse. We will now go to the live gameplay where I will develop this area a bit further and build our zoo. Stick around for it. Okay guys, so I just finished adjusting the road layout of the area that we are going to work on in this episode. I want to try out something new, so for example, if you see here, I've made these little dead ends right next to these roads, and I've made this to avoid intersections too close to the main avenues. So as you see here, these roads were intersecting with this road and I took off the segment, so now we have an intersection here, and the closest intersections are actually here and here, so pretty far away, and I've done the same thing over here and also here as well. I just want to check out how this thing will work and if it will help with traffic. So anyway, we are going to start working on this little block, and the first thing that I want to do is convert all of these roads to normal roads before I forget. So I am going to grab my road with 3 lanes and I'm going to convert all of this into that type of road. So at least this one's over here. I think I'm gonna convert this long road into a road with grass lanes, just to define a bit more the hierarchy between roads. And I think everything else can become roads with trees, at least for the time being. The next thing that I want to do is plan out the public transport. I know that I want my metro connection or my metro line to continue all this way, so I am going to add another line, or another station should I say, and I'm going to place it perhaps right here, and I'm going to make another one over here. Now let's connect the line. Let me just turn on the road guidelines. So let's make a connection here, and let's make a connection here as well. Okay, and now let's add a couple of stops. So let's grab the line all the way over here. Let's make a stop here, a stop there, and another stop here as well. And we will eventually add power and water to these stations, but for the time being I also want to show you something else. So for example, on the last episode we have developed this fishing village, and that caused a lot of traffic in this little road here. So this segment, well, it's actually not that bad right now. We only have this segment full of cars, and also this one as well. But I've noticed that the traffic flow in this area has increased quite a bit. So what I'm going to do is continue the metro line that is currently ending here, and I'm gonna extend it all the way to the central part of the fishing village, and I'm gonna place it right in front of the fish market. So I am going to grab my station, and I am going to finish up the line right here. Okay, let me see if I have houses close to this station. I have this house, so perhaps I can dezone it and place a shop instead, so that we don't have people complaining about the noise pollution. And now let me just connect everything. Perhaps we can add a big circular line like this. Okay, yeah, I like it. That's good enough for me. And let's once again add another stop. There we go. And now all of these private vehicles who are using this avenue to go to the fish village will start using the metro instead. But anyway, let's go back to this area. I think for the time being I can disable these stations, and we can re-enable them when we have some houses built here. And I wanna start working on some pedestrian pathways for this area. So let me just grab them. We have been using the red ones, so that's what we will keep using. And you know, I actually think these roads are way too close to this road, so I think I want to rebuild them a little bit, make them a bit better. I want to maximize zoning space, but I don't want to go too close to the road, so let me just disable the road guidelines and bring a road all the way over here. And perhaps we can do the same here. So I'm going to add one connection here, one connection there, make sure we're parallel, make a bridge align with these two segments of road, so I want to go up by 1, 2, 3 steps and bring it all the way here. And now, I don't know, let's try doing something interesting, something that we have never done before. So let's make a curved road here. Well, not road, but pathway. Let's do the same thing here. Now let's continue this pathway all the way over here. Here as well. And now let's replicate the same design and make a curve here. And another curve here as well. And yeah, sure, I think that's pretty cool. Okay, so now the houses that we are going to zone in these roads have now quick access to this metro station by using the pathways. I think we can even upgrade them to some pathways with trees, because it looks much better. Yeah, there we go. And now we can do the same and add some walking access to this station as well. I think this is actually going to be very, very simple, because we already have a road that is serving this entire block, which is this one in the middle. We can simply continue it using a pathway and connect it directly to the metro station, like this. Now that we are at it, we can also make some other intuitive connections. So for example, a pathway over here to connect these two blocks easily, and the same thing over here as well. So like this, little segment of pathway, perfect. I also want to start upgrading some avenues. This is something that I have been neglecting in my city. I've never actually used these 6-lane avenues, and I think that's something that we can start working on right now. So I'm gonna grab these ones, the 6 lanes with trees, and I'm gonna upgrade all of these to that type of avenue. So all of these can be that type of road. And I can also upgrade it over here as well, because these things tend to get crowded. I can upgrade them all the way over here. I am also going to convert this avenue to an avenue with trees for the time being. In the future I might add a tram connection that is going to serve this entire area, or even a monorail, I'm still not sure. That involves replacing the existing avenues with more appropriate roads, but for that we need to see first how traffic will behave in this area. So for the time being I'm just converting everything to avenues with trees. Now, just for the sake of variety, I think I'm going to convert this one to a avenue with bicycle lanes, like this. Okay guys, so now I'm gonna add water and power to this entire location, and I will meet you in a moment to start zoning some stuff in here and develop our city a bit further. Alright, I have provided this entire location with water. I've also adjusted some of the roads that were not perfectly symmetrical, and I've also added some pathways. I didn't add pathways to this area here because this is where we are going to build the zoo. Initially I had planned to build it here, but now that I think about it, perhaps this area is a bit more adequate because it's not as narrow and it's a bit more open, and I can even remove these roads here. But for the time being, let's just start zoning in some stuff, and I'm going to follow the same strategy that I have been following. So I am going to add mostly low density, but I'm also going to mix in some high density. For example, here we can add a few big shops in these locations, perhaps a big shop here and another one here as well. These little avenues are very suitable for these types of shops because they handle quite a big amount of traffic. Then of course we can mix in a bit of low density. So for example, this area is very suitable for that. I'm also going to mix in a few offices, so perhaps we can add a few offices in these areas as well. And of course the central area is going to be mostly residential. So we're gonna add a few scattered blocks of high density residential, and then we're gonna fill everything with some low density houses. So I'm gonna zone this entire area, house by house, and I'll meet you guys in a second. Okay, and now of course we cannot forget about services such as elementary school, for example. So we are going to need at least a couple of them to support these new inhabitants that are going to live here. So I'm going to place one right here, and perhaps we can even add another one here as well. So let's put it here. And we are also going to need at least one high school. I don't want to place it right next to the avenue, but perhaps here is a good place for it. Let's readjust the zoning so that we don't have any awkward buildings. Okay, education is now set. For the other services, I'm going to wait until we have built our zoo so that I know exactly where I want to place them. Okay guys, everything is now zoned in, so what I'm gonna do is activate the metro stations, because this area is about to get populated and now we can see this thing develop. So I'm gonna unpause the simulation and see how everything grows. Okay, so while this thing develops, I need to provide it with some power, as we are currently missing on that. So perhaps I can make a connection here, and the high school will eventually get its own power when stuff starts growing in here. Also, let me just zoom in and see if people are using the metro. Yeah, it looks like it. People are already using the metro to come into this modest part of the city, and it even seems that people are already using the elevated pathways. Look at this. Perfect. Let's check out the other metro station. This one doesn't have anyone using it yet, but we've got time. Oh, there you go, our first passenger. While we'll let this humble neighborhood develop, we can start working on a zoo. And I've already decided where I want to build it. I am going to build it in this little block over here, because it has much more space than this one. This one is a bit narrow. Now I'm not sure if a zoo here would fit nicely, but here if I simply delete these roads here, I got a much bigger area to work with, and that's exactly what we can start doing right now. So I can start by adding the district. So let's do that right away. We need to define this as a park area. Okay, now we can name it as New Tadema Zoo. And I know it's a bit small right now, but if we need room we can expand it to the left side over here. so I'm not really worried about that. Now let's start by adding the entrance. That's the first building that we need to have, of course. I don't want to put the entrance in the avenue itself because I expect this area to have quite a bit of traffic, so I'm gonna put it in this area instead. So there we go, perfect. Now we have unlocked a couple of things that we can start placing right away. So I think I want to put the plaza in a central location, so I think I'm gonna put it around here. And for that we need to expand our pathway, so let's start working on a pathway network. Let's start by making a pathway all the way here, and perhaps we can make another one here as well. Okay, make this connection. Let's see if this space is big enough to add an extraction. This thing has even its own pathway, so perhaps we can place it here. Let's delete this little segment. And I don't know, let's place it right here. Okay. Okay, perfect. And perhaps we can even extend it all the way here. Except that we have a bridge in this location, which is annoying us quite a bit. But perhaps we can move the pillar, so let's do that. Okay, this works for me. Okay, and now we can put the plaza right in the middle of the park. And we can even surround it with pathways to make it look cool. Yeah, there we go, I like it. And now we can add a couple of coffee shops, restrooms, and even, what's the other one? The souvenir shop, yes, of course. So let's place one coffee shop here. And perhaps another one here as well. A bit of friendly competition. Let's put a souvenir store by the exit. So right here. Let's put some restrooms right beside it. And perhaps we can even put some more coffee shops. So let's put another one here and also another one here as well. Okay. Quite a friendly central location for the park. I like it. So now let's add a couple more attractions. Let's actually expand the park area. I'm thinking covering this area is going to make it look a bit more interesting. So there we go. Now what else can we place here? I don't want to go overboard with the attractions because we still have a lot of things to unlock for the zoo, and I want to maximize the space. But I also do not want to make it a bit crowded, so for the time being I think I'm gonna put this birdhouse. So we can place it right here. I don't really like how it created this slope, so we need to fix that. And we haven't checked out this thing as well. So yeah, I think it looks great here. But let's adjust the terrain of this thing. Okay, let's try again. And yeah, there we go, much better indeed. Finally, right now we can also put the antelope enclosure, which I think goes hand in hand with the reindeer and moose enclosure that we have put, so we can put them side to side. So let's place them right here. And I think that's it for the time being, because we already have all the entertainment required for the next level. So now we will wait until this thing upgrades and we unlock some other stuff to put in the zoo. What we can do, however, is fence off this entire thing, so that animals do not run away. So I am going to select the fence, if I can find it. In order to maximize the zoning space, we need to place some fence gates right next to the road, but the current grid lines do not allow us to do that. So one trick that we can use is placing a side gate, and then we have a snapping point right where the sidewalk starts. So we can use that to make perfectly aligned fences. Now we can delete it. Then we can put another secondary gate here, and now we can place yet another fence that is perfectly aligned with the road. And we can connect it here. Okay, smooth little curve here. Delete this thing and connect everything. Okay, so now I will fence off the entire park area and I'll meet you guys in a second. Oh, and by the way, another thing that we can do to make perfectly aligned fences is actually disable all the road guidelines, and then you can make a fence that is going to be as close to the road as possible. I personally like to use the side gate trick whenever I can, so that there's no margin for error. Okay, so right here I'm not going to be able to use the side gate trick because we have a curve road, so I'll have no choice but to disable all the road guidelines and start making a fence that is as close to the road as possible. And I think this is good enough. Alrighty, so we have just upgraded to level 2 and we have unlocked a couple more buildings. Also, I have already enclosed the entire thing, so if you look closely, we have a fence surrounding the entire park, which I think turned out quite well. I've been using some smooth curves to go around the edges and make it organic and as natural looking as possible. Over here I actually continued the fence all the way until the pathway, and I connected both of them over here right underneath the bridge, which I think was a nice solution. But yeah, let's continue. Let's see, what have we unlocked. We have this thing, which is the insect house, which is actually a building itself. And we have the bison enclosure, which is this gigantic massive thing. I think the bison enclosure is actually a nice fit for this area. I think the dimensions fit this area quite well, so let's actually move this thing over here for the time being. And let's try and place it right about here. Okay, cool, perfect. Now let's connect it to the main infrastructure. Okay, perfect, I like it. So now we can relocate this thing and I think we can place it over here. Yeah, I think it's a good location for it. Perhaps we can scoot it a bit more to the left. Okay, yeah, I like it. Oh boy. What the hell is this? What happened to you guys? What are you doing? But anyway, let's pretend we haven't seen this, and we still have one building to place, which is the insect thingy, and I think it's going to look pretty majestic if we put them right about over here in front of the plaza. So let's simply extend the pathway all the way over here. Same thing over here as well. Now let's see if we can place it. And yeah, there we go. Perfect. And we should even start upgrading some roads, so perhaps all of these can be roads with trees, except this one. This one can also be a road with trees. And this one as well for the time being. We still need a lot more visitors in this park before we upgrade to the next level, so let's focus on other areas of the city for now. For example, this thing is quite empty and I think we can zone a few more houses in this location. So we can put some high density buildings over here and over here as well, and then all the rest can be low density. Let's put a few more residents over here as well. I actually feel sorry for these people. I've been around zoos in my life and I can tell you that they do not smell any good. But people do not seem to mind because this entire thing is filled with leisure. I'm not even going to put any parks in this location. But anyway guys, that's going to be it for today. This area is not finished at all. There's still a lot of stuff that we gotta do, especially when it comes to decoration, but I think we can do that on the future episodes. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again in the next video. Have a good one, and as always, have fun!